We've all got to shop groceries, folks, but that doesn't mean we all do it well. Now, in this new type of video for my channel, I'm going to be doing the digging so you don't get done at the checkout. From sneaky pricing to dodgy deals and, well, just straight up ridiculous grocery trends, I'm going to break it down Grocerydad style. After 20 years in the food business, I believe eating shouldn't cost you a fortune. Your grocery bill shouldn't feel like a car payment. Welcome to Grocerydad News. Hello folks, now if you haven't happened across this channel before, welcome along. It's great to have you here. And if you have been here, welcome back. It's lovely to have you. This is a bit different and I hope you enjoy it, obviously, but give me your feedback either way in the comments, because as the saying goes, there's no point pushing shit up the hill or something like that. So the idea here is to take a swift trip around the world and have a look at some different stories to see what the heck is going on in food, and more specifically in groceries where you live. The idea is informing, entertaining, sharing good ideas, and putting the dodgy ones back on the shelf where they belong. So without further ado, let me kick off with today's first story. Now, I confess I wasn't sure if I'd Googled the right thing on this one here or not, because this is what I got back. Now, I remember hearing about the European method when I was at school, and we got back from the exchange trip to France. I was in the sixth form. Everyone was going on about how they'd tried the European method. So thought this probably isn't the appropriate forum to be sharing that. But of course, on closer inspection, it is grocery shopping related. And it's all about how the Europeans apparently save money and shop smarter. So, like everything does these days, it seems, it blew up. So the article says, blew up on TikTok recently. So I got quite excited. And then I realized that basically what they're talking about is what I would call, and perhaps you do as well, little and often shopping, or top-up shopping might be another way that you describe it. So anyway, this is what the article has to say about it all. People using the European shopping method to save on groceries. Social media users have gone wild for what has been branded the European method. The European method when shopping for groceries. I love that. So what have we got? If grocery shopping is an area of stress for you, you might want to go the Euro route. Blah, 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 TikTok. So here we go. Rather than going to just one store and purchasing a haul of food for the week, shoppers focus on specific needs, recipes, and ingredients. Okay, seems to make sense. The method is about getting fewer grocery items and going more often. Yep, that's little and often shopping, folks. One TikTok user says, normalize shopping like a European. Okay. Next one says, daily small grocery runs. So you're going like 7 days a week, literally daily. That doesn't seem sensible to me. However, specialised grocers for different things, buy what you need for the day, splurge on high quality proteins and cheese. Don't forget your high quality cheese, folks. Add fresh herbs to simple meals, hand pick produce based on seasonality and freshness. Couldn't agree more with that. Definitely pick your produce, whatever you call it, based on seasonality and freshness. Freshness, obviously, but seasonality is going to make it cheaper. What else have we got? While it might be slightly more time consuming, I would say it's going to be a lot more time consuming if you're going daily. But however, you have to go to more than once a week. It could ultimately save you money and help prevent waste. Yes, absolutely right. The key to the European grocery method is to set a plan before you go to the store so you don't purchase any unnecessary ingredients that might go bad. Planning out your meals in advance can also help you envision what items work together and can be reused different meals. Okay, so a couple of things that I find interesting about this. Shopping around and using different stores. Great idea. I strongly recommend you do that as much as is practical for you given your lifestyle and your diary. Shopping to a plan. Great idea. Do it. Whether you adopt the European method or not, I strongly recommend you do some planning. No two ways about that. It is a fundamental way for you to cut your grocery costs and your grocery bill. I would then go on to say, if you shop around, you're going to multiple stores, and you do little and often, you will probably screw it up and overspend if you don't have a plan. That's how important that is. Little and often shopping is certainly likely to help you reduce waste. That does make sense. But having said that, if you are building a meal plan, and you are being that deliberate with what you buy, then actually, to my mind, you shouldn't have much, if any, food waste in any case. Am I wrong, guys? What do you think? Isn't the whole point of the meal planning that you don't end up with a bunch of ingredients rotting in your fridge that you had forgotten about or didn't have a plan to use in the first place? Tell me what you think in the comments. To me, they kind of go hand in hand, really. The other important thing here is it just isn't practical, in my view, if you have a family on the basis of time and logistics to be shopping anything like daily for groceries, let alone 2 or 3 or 4 times a week. Just not going to work out. And I don't think it's practical from a cost point of view either. Buying by the meal implies that you're not buying in bulk, and buying in bulk is another crucial way that savvy shoppers save money. So I don't see how you can be doing both of those. And it doesn't really make sense to me anyway, to be going in and just having one meal in mind, buying an onion, buying a couple of tomatoes at a time. It's not going to be practical for you. Even if you buy, let's say, a small packet of rice, which is definitely going to be more expensive than a bigger one, then you're missing out on that opportunity to buy and bring your costs down, as well as the petrol and the travel and all this sort of stuff if you go and buy car. Now, some of that stuff just doesn't make sense. But again, what's your take? I'd be fascinated to know if you have a family and you have found a way to make little and often shopping or top-up shopping work for you. Please let me know. Bottom line for me is the European method, as they call it, is better suited to people who have very small households. Maybe you live alone, maybe you're a couple, and very limited storage space in your home, and probably live in a very urban setting. Maybe you live in an apartment, maybe the grocery store is at the bottom of your block, or it's literally just around the corner. So there's certainly instances where that is going to make sense. Even if you are in that situation, I still think it's worth bulk buying things like pasta, rice, staples that are shelf stable, that've got long life, you can hold on to for a while. If you have space, optimize that space. Otherwise, yeah, definitely agree with shopping around. But I also believe that most of us are going to be better served by having a plan, using a couple of grocery stores, and going as little as possible, as few times as possible each week to the grocery store. Tell me what you think, though. What do you make of the European method? And do you use the European method? Week in, week out. Maybe you do. Maybe you don't find it's very safe. Okay, on to the next thing. We're heading back to these shores where I am, sunny Australia. And this is it's not really a news story as such, and it's more of a saga, actually, to be honest. To fill you in, if you were not from around here, the short story here basically is that Australia has allowed 2 grocery chains to dominate the market, and now after several decades, the Australian media has woken up and gone, "That's not the ideal environment for competition, is it really?" So it's as though people have suddenly woken up and this has happened overnight, which it clearly hasn't. But it does look as though these 2 dominant players are doing all sorts of things that aren't necessarily in the best interests of everyday people, aka their customers. And the Competition Commission is involved, and even our Prime Minister is involved, invoking ideas around how un-Australian it is to try and cheat another Australian. I'd probably say most nationalities, most countries would say it's pretty national of them. It's not unhuman, isn't it? I think to try and cheat, or maybe that's wrong interpretation. Maybe it's very human to try and cheat each other. But anyway, this article is really a laundry list of all the sneaky things that grocery chains can do to screw us over. Not saying they all do them, but a lot of these things will be happening in countries all over the world, and maybe a light just hasn't been shone on some of them where you live yet. And in many ways, this is kind of a watch-out list. Could really be useful to you wherever you are in the world. If you, kind of print it off, have it in your pocket, and just pull it out anytime you go do your groceries. Just make sure you're not getting fleeced, really. So take a look at a few of these. Some more familiar than others. So we start off. Phantom brands, seasonal discounts and shrinkflation. Coles and Woolworths are accused of inflating prices, but those aren't the only tactics hurting shoppers. So the first thing we come to is something called seasonal discounts. Downing pointed to the example of seasonal discount on items whose pricing remains the same year round. Bit dodgy. Next one that caught my eye, hidden unit pricing. By law, unit price must be displayed accurately. It's very hard to compare milk with other milk if you have a discount sticker over the top of the label and the unit price is in a size 4 font. Yeah, okay. True, very difficult. Hidden unit pricing doesn't mean it's a mystery, clearly. It just means it's literally covered up. So that's one thing to bear in mind. Unit pricing obviously is really important. I've done videos on it before, which you can check those out if you're interested to understand how you use it. It's not really that complicated, but you need to understand it. If it's covered up for some reason, and I strongly doubt that that's a ploy or a strategy by the supermarket. I think it's just careless. But if it is, then, well, it's on us. We've got to learn how to work it out for ourselves. And I'll put it in the description just to give you a hand around how you take the price, you divide it by the volume, you multiply it to make comparisons like for like. So it's in the description. But very much something that we've just got to know. We can't rely on somebody else necessarily to tell us all the time. Again, what do you think? Do you think it is? Do you think a supermarket has an obligation and an onus to give us that information? And does that absolve us as shoppers from needing to know how to do this stuff ourselves? What do you think? Next one, anyway, we get to shrinkflation. So I think we all know. About that. Happens all over the world. Happening right now. Product gets smaller, price goes up. Now they tried it on Toblerone. Do you remember? You see that a few years ago, and they took some of the peaks out of the bar. Hope nobody would notice. Everyone did, and let's change it back very quickly. Doesn't always work for them. Sometimes it's a bit more subtle than that. But anyway, that's going on all over the world. I love this one. I only needed a loaf of bread. So the claim is that these staples like bread, milk, eggs are never stocked together, and they're split up and positioned at the back of the supermarket to force us to travel through the store and pick up lots of other stuff, impulse purchases, usually junk foods, we're told here. They're not stocked together. That is true. And you can make a case for them perhaps to be stocked together. Although just the fact that they are staples and we buy them regularly doesn't mean that all shoppers go into store and buy them together all the time. So there might be a fallacy in that argument. But apart from that, as far as I'm concerned, it's just not true that they're at the back of the store. Now, it depends maybe on where you perceive the back of the store to be. To me, you tell me again if you see anything different, but most supermarkets I've ever been to around the world, you come in either from the left or the right, and the checkouts are kind of next to you wherever you've come in from, and then you move to the left or the right as you go through the store. So the back is kind of diagonal, not the wall opposite front where you walked in. I've visited lots and lots of supermarkets all over the world, and I struggle to think of any instances when any of these kind of products are actually at the back of the store. Certainly not in this country, in any case, and that's what this article is all about. Eggs and bread almost always nearer the front of the store than the back, right? And milk sometimes a little bit further along, but the back of the store, as far as I know, is generally where the frozen food is. Don't find milk there, you don't find bread, you don't find eggs there. So is that your experience? Have you come across something different situation in your country? In the comments, please. I'd love to know, because I've never seen it. But anyway, so that's another one. And this idea of impulse purchases as you go through the store. Well, okay, this is the whole point of Grocerydad news. If that is the case, and if you are aware that that's happening and that's what they're trying to do, then as you pass through the rest of the store, you're conscious, are you not, that that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to get you to pick up these other items, these other junk foods, things that weren't necessarily on your list. And then it comes down to willpower, doesn't it? It comes down to your ability to control yourself. Ideally, don't go shopping with your kids, because that's one additional stress and provocation that's maybe going to get you to drop something in the basket or the trolley that you didn't need. So leave the kids at home, because they'll just add to that impulse drive. But otherwise, you've got yourself to control. Just police yourself, police your own behaviour. Sometimes it's not easy, which is another reason. Another good thing is don't go shopping when you're hungry, because then you're more likely to fall into this trap. But yeah, it's something that we have to be in control of ourselves, I think. And so it goes on and on. Discount. What else did I see? I saw discount tags where there hasn't really been a discount. We've got eye level is buy level, so the stuff that they put right eye level is the stuff that they want you to buy. That's important to know, because I've talked about this a lot as well. Private label, which are otherwise known as retailer brands or house brands, are almost always down by the floor. Okay, they're not eye level. Those are not the ones that they want you to buy, for various reasons, which maybe we'll go into another time. But on things like beans and rice and pasta and all those kind of staples, they're going to be very, very, very similar to the more expensive branded products, but they're cheaper, a third cheaper, half the price, and so on. So always do look to the bottom shelves and see what's going on down there. What else have we got? 2 for $6 or £3 each. Great deal. Isn't that a great deal? Aren't they nice? I've got an even better example, actually. Now, this is a retailer that's very close to me. just up the road here, Harris Farm Market. An expensive retailer, not a massive retailer, but an expensive retailer. And I've got an even better image, which I'm going to try and find and dig out in a minute and show you. They do this repeatedly. It's not an occasional thing. They do this repeatedly at this retailer. And someone I know in the industry said, oh, they're just being playful. They're just being cheeky. I think it's deliberately misleading. And I think it's bad retailing. What do you think? Does it bother you? Sneaky? Misleading? Again, put it in the comments. Discount tags is another one we have here, where there hasn't really been a discount at all. So labelling things as a special or a special buy without telling shoppers why it's a special. Yes, that also happens. And as you go through this list and you get to stuff like this, it really just makes you think, well, I can't go into these grocery stores and just assume that they've got my back, they've got my best interests at heart. These could be extreme cases. Maybe we just happen to have very dodgy retailers here in Australia. Or maybe these are some things that happen all over the world. And actually, we've got to treat grocery stores and supermarkets just like any other business that is implicitly trying to get you to spend more or buy more expensive things than you need, because that's how they grow and that's how they hit their targets. And I was talking about this in my last video. If we all fundamentally had that notion in our mind, if that's what you go in with your next grocery shop with in your mind, then I think it's got to change the way that you behave. It's got to make you more mindful of what you're putting in your basket and your trolley. It's got to make you more mindful of price and of all these messages that they're giving you around the shelf. So, as I say, my take on all these kind of tactics is, I haven't been in the industry for many years. Actually, some of this is just sloppy. So, in context, if you think about all the bits of paper that they put on shelves, there are literally thousands of examples of this being pushed out by retailers every single week and going onto shelves. So it's understandable. It's human nature. There's going to be some errors and some things are going to get screwed up. That doesn't make it okay by any stretch, in my opinion, because retail management has an obligation to train their people and to deal with them if they keep screwing up. But as far as we're concerned as shoppers, my takeout is that we have to have an obligation to ourselves to be more cautious and to be more switched on when we shop for food. These guys, like I said, they're driven by volume. They need you to buy more than you need to hit their targets. That's the bottom line here. And you have to assume that they will use a range of tactics. Some are fair, some may be foul, and they will use all of those means to try and achieve their goals. And therefore, you have to be diligent. You have to take your own food shopping more seriously, perhaps, than some of us would like to think. And then there's less chance that you're going to get the wool pulled over your eyes. And this is what Grocerydad is all about. It's about sharing information. It's about raising awareness so that more people will see the light and fewer people wake up a few years down the line after having overspent, wondering what the hell's happened to all their money. So let's close today with something super topical. Valentine's Day has just been and gone. Millions of dollars worth of roses currently wilting away on windowsills as we speak. And whilst some in the UK saw the funny side of this particular occasion, for others, a line has been crossed. Let me show you what I'm talking about, folks. Cheeky Valentine's Day sign shocks supermarket shoppers. What could possibly have shocked them so much? Flowers and chocolates are what most would expect to receive on Valentine's Day. What about continental cucumbers? Actually, don't answer that. This is a parenting website, apparently. Daily Telegraph. Just imagine being a parent, navigating your way through the supermarket with kids, when suddenly you see this beneath those cucumbers. Ideal for Valentine's. And as the article says, imagine your child saying, why are they saying cucumbers are a good present for someone you love, mummy? Good luck navigating that question. There are harder questions than that to navigate, believe me, when you have children. So, what do you think? The horror, eh? But is this just a bit of fun? Or a disturbing sign of moral decay in the aisles of UK supermarkets? Tell me in the comments. And if you did buy a cucumber for Valentine's Day, and you're not sure what to do with it, then I can tell you it can be a very refreshing and versatile snacking option, as long as you put it in the fridge. Keep it fresh. It's guaranteed to last longer than a lot of relationships as well. Now, I hope you enjoyed this video. Episode 1, potentially of 1, if the feedback is mediocre. But episode 1 of Grocerydad News. Tell me if you enjoyed it. If you want to see an episode 2, I'd love to do it. I think it adds some value as well. So I hope to see you again next week with more grocery saving tips. Take care until then.